Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Barry Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show, and got a couple of updates on companies in the news today. I'm not going to do a look at the metals charts. I talked about them a lot in yesterday's show, and on the weekend, I'm going to be talking about them a lot more. I mean, basically, what I've been seeing in the metals prices is that I believe we're at the start of a metals bull market that is going to be more longer lasting and more powerful than the 2001 to 2011 metals bull market. Why I say that it's the start is until recently, over the last couple of months, it really was all about gold. Gold had made a breakout in early 2024, above $2,100 an ounce. Since then, it's made a series of new record high after record high. Chart's been going from the bottom left of the chart to the top right. This is a very healthy and strong bull market. The fundamentals are really good. When you look at the debt situation, the cost of servicing the debt, that the debt's going to go up more. I really believe that the world debt and the world debt and the fiat currency system is broken. And so, as I said, the fundamentals are very good for gold, but they are also for silver and copper. And they've recently had important breakouts. For silver, it was going above $35 an ounce, which was very important. You got to go back to basically 2011, 12 at the end of the last great metals bull market from 2001 to 2011 to see it trading near $40 an ounce. And I think we're within maybe tomorrow, or next week, we could see it break above $40 an ounce. And at that point, I think it's got pretty clear sailing to $50 an ounce before the end of the year. The basics of that are that it's a monetary metal. Also being used, a lot of consumption is for solar panels. The demand for solar panels has left silver in a deficit over the last 4 years or so. Quite significant one, about 25% of what is mined each year. The above ground sources have probably been helping that deficit, but those have limitations to them, and the demand just keeps on growing. I've often said over the last year or so that silver is the most coiled spring metal that I've ever seen in my 32 years in the mining business. And now that coil is starting to be released, and I think that's very bullish for silver. Copper, strong demand, tight supply, recently broke out to new record highs, getting very close to $6 per pound. I think it's coming and could be a gain like silver in the next week or two or days for that matter. And yeah, the fundamentals are very good for copper as well. Those are the key metals that I watch: so gold, silver, and copper. Platinum and palladium have also recently had impressive breakouts. And so it's the combination of those various metals that are all moving up into important breakouts that I think is suggesting to me that we are at the start of a metals bull market. And I think we've got a long and sustained period that will be very bullish for the metal stocks because they are at sort of record valuations on the low end, at least when you compare them to the big cap Wall Street stocks. And yet the metals are doing very good. So there's a disconnect there. And the metal stocks need to play a lot of catching up to do. They got a lot of catching up to do. And I think that's going to be very bullish for the metal stocks over the rest of this year. So let's get into some news. Newmont. I want to talk about two pieces of news for Newmont. First, I'm going to go into the news that they've had three of their miners have been trapped underground at their Red Chris mine in British Columbia. They're obviously, I'm praying for the guys that are stuck underneath there. But there is definitely reasons to be optimistic that this is going to have a good outcome. They are in a safe area, that they have these safety areas in underground for these kind of situations. And so they're in a safe place. They're a significant distance from where the rocks fell in the underground mining portion there. And they have many day or a long period of time worth of food and water and shelter. They got good shelter where they are. And until uh, just there was two falls of the rocks, and they had communications with the workers, and they were, in safe. They were known to be in the safety area, and then the second fall happened, and they lost contact, but they're trying to revive that contact. Now, as far as the rescue mission goes, the good news on that is that there's only about 20 or 30 meters worth of rock to get through to get those guys, get access to those guys. And so that's reasons to be optimistic that this is going to have a good, positive outcome. I mean, at the end of the day, mining is provides all the metals that we need in our modern life, but it's not without danger. Fortunately, in modern mines these days, they have a lot of safety precautions, and it looks like it's going to be a good outcome, God willing. And my prayers go out to those guys and the team that's working on rescuing them. And so, yeah, I'm quite optimistic that the miners will be rescued safely. Okay, so on the other news side of things for Newmont is this afternoon, after the market closed, they had their quarterly report out, and it was a blockbuster. Newmont reports second quarter 2025 results. They announced that at the end of the second quarter, an additional 3 billion share repurchase program and a declared dividend of 25 cents per share. Their chief executive officer, Tom Palmer, stated, and I quote, Newmont delivered a strong quarter, producing approximately 1.5 attributable gold ounces and generating an all-time record quarterly free cash flow of 1.7 billion, underscoring the strength of our world-class portfolio and the disciplined execution of the commitments we shared at the beginning of the year. We remain firmly on track to achieve our 2025 guidance as we continue to strengthen our safety culture, stabilize our operations, and deliver long-term value to shareholders. End quote. So, I mean, the big piece of news there is generating an all-time record quarterly free cash flow of 1.7 billion. I expected that they would have a blowout quarter because the second quarter of 2025 was the highest average price of gold ever. And so this reflects that, that's why you get all-time record quarterly free cash flow. I pay a lot of attention to free cash flow because there are some accounting gimmicks that companies can use, but they can't use accounting gimmicks on free cash flow. That's cash, folks. And doing 1.7 billion of it in a quarter is quite impressive. They reported net income of 2.1 billion. EBITDA and all those other things I think are not as important as the free cash flow. They're on track to meet 2025 guidance. That's good news because they guide the cost, they guide the production, but what they can't guide is the price of gold. And I'm very optimistic that we're going to have a very strong period from here to the end of 2025. And so I expect them to keep performing well on the free cash flow. They expect to receive more than 3 billion in after-tax cash proceeds from the divestiture program, including 2.5 billion for divested assets and approximately 470 million from the sale of equity shares in Greatland Resources and Discovery Silver. They generated 2.4 billion of cash from operating activities, net of working capital contribution of 156 million, and reported free cash flow a record of 1.7 billion. They returned 1.0 billion of capital to shareholders through share repurchases and dividend payments since the last earnings call, and declared a dividend of 25 cents per share of common stock for the second quarter of 2025. If I have any negatives to say about the big miners like Newmont is I would like to see them start to sit on some cash instead of buying back shares and paying dividends. My reasoning behind that is it shows their commitment to gold as being better than fiat currencies. And I happen to believe that they would probably get a better action in their stock price if they were sitting on cash instead of paying it out in dividends and repurchasing stock. But I don't run Newmont, and they know how to make a lot of money. So there you go. It's just my opinion. They authorized a $3 billion share repurchase program to be executed at the company's discretion. They produced 1.5 million ounces of gold from their core portfolio, as well as 36,000 tons of copper, maintained a strong and flexible investment-grade balance sheet, ending the quarter with 6.2 billion in cash and 10.2 billion in liquidity. They reduced their debt by 372 million since the last earnings call and reported net debt to adjusted earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization of 0.1x. They talk about their sustainability. So yeah, I mean, this is just a hit it out of the park quarter, which I expected when I've been talking about this quarter prior to it happening. Uh, Now, in after hours trading, it's trading up. I don't really pay a lot of attention to after hours trading, but I do pay attention to this trend, especially since I started picking them back here prior to this Golden Cross. Since the Golden Cross, they have almost entirely, except for a few trading days, stayed above the 50-day moving average. They're significantly above the 50-day moving average as of the close today, and they're substantially above the 200-day. And there's a very healthy gap between the 200-day and the 50-day. So, on a technical perspective, it looks like all systems are go. On the operation side, they just had a hit it out of the park quarter due to the record prices of gold during that quarter for the average over a quarter, the best ever. And yeah, the company is doing what they're supposed to do. The stock chart's doing what they're supposed to do. And as I talked about earlier, now let's get those miners out from underground. And I think all systems are go. All right. Now, Orla Mining also had, and this is a pick, and they also had oh, sorry, that's Newmont. Orla Mining also had issues, a pit wall event at their Camino Rojo oxide mine in Zacatecas. And so on that news, the stock got hammered by 14%. And I wanted to talk about this today because I think a lot of investors, in any sector for that matter, they tend to pay attention mostly to the headlines, and then they look at the stock action, and they often will take a trading action based on that. And they don't really look into the news, the guts of the news. And oftentimes, what's in the guts of the news tells you the story, and it also emphasizes the the opportunity. Okay, when you see a 14.36% decline, as the company has been doing very well for, well, go back to the lows of 2023, they're at about 350 a share. Even after the 14% decline today, they're still at 13.72 a share, so a good $10 above where they were in the last quarter of 2023. And so fundamentally, the company's doing a lot of good things. But then they have this pit wall and everybody panics, but they don't read the news. So let's read the news. Orla Mining is providing an update on the recent pit wall event that occurred at its Camino Rojo oxide mine in Zacatecas, Mexico. Now, this happened because there has been a once in a decade kind of rainfall. And I know that this is accurate because I live in the state of Zacatecas, Mexico, about 100 miles from the Camino Rojo project. And we have had a tremendous amount of rain. I've lived here for 10 years, and the last time I saw this much rain was about 10 years ago. To put it into context, if on a normal rainy season week we have, harsh, hard rains maybe once. And in the last month or so, it's been like 4 days out of seven. So it has been very abnormally high amount of rain in this year's rainy season. So I'm giving you some close to the mind inside baseball there, that's in fact what has happened. So they provided an update. And what they talk about is the pit wall event and immediate response. As reported on July 23rd, 2025, Camino Rojo experienced an uncontrolled material movement on the temporary north wall within the open pit. There were no injuries, nor was there any damage to equipment or the environment as a result of the event. So right away, my first concerns when I hear this kind of news is, was anybody hurt? Nobody was hurt. And from a corporate perspective, not having any damage to the equipment or the environment is also really important, and that was good news. Ramp access to the pit remains unaffected, but open pit mining operations were temporarily suspended while the company conducts the necessary geotechnical assessments to ensure safe remediation and the eventual resumption of mining activities. These assessments are being conducted by both the company's internal team and third-party consultants. Completion of the initial geotechnical assessment is anticipated in the coming week, with the remediation plan to be outlined thereafter. So they're doing everything by the book, and they have had excellent monitoring of the event, and that's why nobody was hurt and no mine equipment was affected. Everybody in Zacatecas knows that it has been abnormally high amount of rain this rainy season. So the company had very good monitoring, and that's why, there are no injuries, no damage to equipment. And this is kind of an example of modern mining. It's not like the old days. They take those extra precautions. They're very careful. And that's the way mines are operated these days by companies like Orla Mining. Now they talk about material volume and recovery outlook. Initial estimates indicate that approximately 390,000 tons of material moved from the north wall into the pit. It is expected that this material would be crushed and stacked on the heap leach pad in the medium term. How long that medium term is, we don't know. They're doing all that assessment, they're figuring all that out. So I think they're probably being pretty cautious here about timelines to get at that material, and we'll wait for news on that. So then they go into ongoing operations and stockpile management. Until in-pit mining operations resume, the company will continue crushing and stacking run-of-mine ore and stockpile material on the heap leach pad. This strategy is expected to mitigate short-term impact on production. The crushing circuit, stacking, and process plant continue to operate. So this was not affecting their crushing, their stacking, their leaching, their process plant. That all is unaffected by the rains or this temporary pit wall falling. The current stockpile is estimated at 2.243 million tons with an average grade of 0.32 grams per ton gold. That's about what this run of mine is. As a reminder, the company's mining throughput capacity is approximately 50,000 to 60,000 tons per day, while its crushing throughput capacity is approximately 18,000 to 19,000 tons per day. So as you can do the math, if they've got 50 to 60,000 tons per day of production or throughput, 2.24 million tons is going to last them a pretty long time. So, ballpark estimate, this should not significantly affect their production. They go on to say, as the company completes the necessary geotechnical assessments and refines the timeline for safe restart of the mining operations, it will provide any updates to full year production and cost guidance. So the cost could go up, obviously. They got to clean up the problem, but they'll be continuing to mine, and they are a low-cost miner. That's one of the reasons why I like the company. It's a very good performer on the low cost and making good margins on their gold production. So with that stockpile that they already have and their throughput capacity of 50 to 60,000 tons, keep our fingers crossed for the company and all their employees that they will keep production going right through this issue. And so, yeah, we'll keep monitor for any updates to their full year production guidelines and their cost guidance. But then we'll look at the stock chart. And as I said, it got creamed today, down 14.36%. But I think if you do your homework and you look beyond the headline and the daily trading volume, you'll realize that this is probably a pretty nice opportunity for investors that want to own the company. Um, Nobody was hurt, no equipment affected. The stockpile will ultimately be processed, or sorry, the material that fell into the pit will be processed. And in the interim, they got 2.2 million tons of stockpile there to put through their processing facility, their whole mining operation. So yeah, it looks like a significant overreaction to me for a company that's doing everything the right way. You're going to have these issues, but they're on top of the issues, and I think it's all going to work out just fine for the company. And again, this emphasizes to me the importance that investors look beyond the headlines at the company they own shares in and also those that they're considering. I see this all the time where you see a headline and then the market reacts negatively to a negative headline and they don't dig deeper into what's beyond the headline. And this is where smart investors find opportunities in good companies to get them on the cheap. And yeah, that's what I think is transpiring before us right in real time today. And that's why I wanted to talk about the news of the pit wall falling in and how they have reacted to it. And yeah, I think everything's going to be fine for Orla Mining. And I believe that this is a good opportunity for investors that are considering the company as an investment. All right, that's the show for today. Shorter and sweeter than my last few shows, or my weekend shows for sure. I just wanted to talk about a couple companies that had news today. Tomorrow is Friday, and companies don't put out news on Fridays, generally speaking. Of course, I will do a show if there's some significant action in the markets that affect the price of the metals that I follow closely. I will not do a show because I'll be doing a big one on the weekend. My weekend shows are becoming like my own weekend mining investor mining conference. I'm really enjoying doing them. I'm covering a lot of companies in them. They're long form, like they can be an hour and a half to 2 hours long. But I do note in the description of those videos where and what companies and the category they're in. So if you're only, let's say, interested in a half a dozen or a few of the companies that I cover, you can just click on the time and go right to that segment. And yeah, that's something I'm working on. I'm also working on bringing in sponsors to sponsor that weekend show. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm working with some people, and we're working on creating an actual investor online conference for mining stocks. And we're in the process of organizing it right now, and uh, and then we'll start marketing it. If you forced me to put a timeline on when the first one will be, and this will take a little longer than the future ones beyond that, I would suspect that I'm kind of hoping that we'll have it out before the big mining conferences in Colorado in the early fall or in the fall. So probably within 2 months, maybe end of September kind of scenario, depending on how the designing of it goes and then the marketing of it goes. I want to try to get 5 to 10 companies to come on and have an interesting conversation, sort of in a fireside chat kind of format with question and answers as well. When I go to a conference and and I'm one of the speakers at those conferences, I really love the question and answer period because for a company, they get the opportunity to hear sort of what their investors are interested in. Companies put out news releases, they put out PowerPoint presentations, they do marketing, and sometimes they don't really have a good handle on what the investors that own their shares are thinking, or what people that are interested in investing in them are thinking. So I'm designing the show to have an opportunity for people to answer those questions, and I want to do it on a fireside chat format where I'm interacting with the presenters because I one of my pet peeves about mining conferences, in-person ones, is a lot of times it's like, you got the executive, the CEO, and he's out there using his PowerPoint presentation or investor deck, as some people call it, and sort of running through that investor deck. And why it's a pet peeve is because I can easily go to their website and find their corporate presentation, read it myself, and so they leave me with a loss there, and so I want to do this metals investor conference in a different format, and so that's what I'm working on in the background. As you know, I'm always working on things in the background. One of the recent things that I'm really excited about is I started a WhatsApp group for those that follow my reports and want to be in my WhatsApp group. In this video description, I'll put a link to that. And we're having a great conversation in there. We got lots of contributors. It's all about met rocks and stocks, and not much in the way of politics, which I like. There is somewhat of a conversation about politics, but it's in the context of how that affects the metals prices and by extension the metal stocks. And so, but I would say 85 to 90% is just all about rocks and stocks. And that's the way I want it. That's the way it's going to stay. I'm the administrator. I own the site, and I make the rules, and I contribute a lot. I get a lot of questions in there. So if you're on WhatsApp and you want to talk about rocks and stocks, make sure to put press that link in the description and join in with us. We'd love to have you. All right. As always, my shows are for information purposes only. I'm not making buying or selling recommendations. You have to speak with your financial advisors and do your homework before making any investment decisions. I am merely a idea generator who uses my 32 years of experience in the mining sector to give you my opinion. And my opinion is biased. I want to be right. That's my ultimate bias. And so, keep all those things into your thoughts when you're listening to my commentary or reading my reports. On that note, you have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.